Imagine this, a warm June night in 1959, high up in the glittering hills of Los Angeles. The man who taught an entire generation that truth, justice, and the American way could conquer anything lies dead on his bedroom floor. A single gunshot. The world's first television Superman, gone at just 45. George Reeves had flown across millions of screens, lifted cars on camera, and made kids believe anything was possible. Yet when the curtain finally fell, Hollywood didn't just stay away from his funeral. It practically erased him. Only a handful of people showed up. No stars, no red carpet, barely any cameras. How does the hero who saved Metropolis end up so utterly alone? If you love stories Hollywood desperately wants you to forget, the glamour, the betrayal, the shadows behind the spotlight, then stop what you're doing right now and hit that subscribe button. Seriously, tap it, turn on notifications, because once you hear how fame built George Reeves up, only to crush him, you'll never look at your childhood heroes the same way again. These are the untold tales they don't teach in film school. Join thousands already uncovering the real Hollywood, and let's dive deep together. Your support keeps these stories alive. The boy who would become Superman. George Reeves wasn't born into destiny. He was born into chaos on January 5, 1914, in the tiny farm town of Woolstock, Iowa. His real name was George Kiefer Brewer. His parents, Donald and Helen, split almost immediately after he arrived, little more than a shotgun wedding that never stuck. Helen packed up her baby and began a restless, wandering life that would shape her son forever. Moves to Kentucky, Illinois, and finally Southern California, always chasing stability that slipped through her fingers. In Pasadena, Helen married Frank Basolo, a successful Italian-American businessman. Frank adopted young George in 1927, giving him the last name that would later be tweaked for Hollywood. But that marriage crumbled too. When George was 13, his mother dropped a bombshell. Frank had killed himself. The boy was devastated. Only years later did George learn the truth. Frank had lived until 1944. That lie planted deep seeds of mistrust and emotional fracture that never fully healed. Yet even amid the upheaval, young George found his escape. At Pasadena High and junior college, he boxed, sang in the choir, and discovered the stage. He enrolled at the prestigious Pasadena Playhouse, a launchpad for future stars. There he met Eleanor Needles, from a colorful circus family. They married in 1940. It seemed like the beginning of something solid, but show business has a way of testing every bond. Their marriage lasted a decade before fading. The climb to stardom. George's big screen break came in 1939 with a small but memorable role in Gone with the Wind. He played one of Scarlett O'Hara's Tarleton suitors, handsome, charming, briefly in the spotlight alongside Vivian Leigh and Clark Gable. Warner Brothers signed him, rechristened him George Reeves because it sounded punchier, and tossed him into supporting parts. He shared screens with future presidents, Ronald Reagan, and legends, but stardom kept dancing just out of reach. Roles in Dead Men Tell and war dramas like So Proudly We Hail followed. That last one stirred something patriotic in him. In 1942, he set Hollywood aside and enlisted in the U.S. Army Air Forces, serving through World War II. Post-war Hollywood was brutal. Studios tightened belts, veterans flooded back. George scraped by in low-budget westerns, Hop-Along Cassidy pictures where he played toughs and sidekicks. There were lean times when he literally dug ditches and cesspools between gigs just to eat. By the early 1950s, many wondered if his career had peaked before it ever truly began. Then came the phone call that changed everything. Becoming the Man of Steel. In 1951, producers offered George the lead in a low-budget feature called Superman and the Mole Men. It doubled as a pilot for a potential TV series, The Adventures of Superman. Television? Many film actors sneered at it, considered B-movie territory, beneath serious talent. George hesitated. He dreamed of prestige, of directing, of breaking free. But rent was due. He took the job. The series launched in 1952. Almost instantly, magic happened. George's calm authority, square jaw, and warm smile made Superman feel real. Kids didn't just watch, they believed. He was their hero in living color. Well, eventually. Parents approved. George leaned into the responsibility. He quit smoking so he'd never be seen with a cigarette around children. His dressing room sign read something like, "Honest George, the people's friend." On set, he was kind, professional, generous with his time for young fans. He visited hospitals in the Cape. He made personal appearances that lit up rooms. Over 6 seasons and 104 episodes, Adventures of Superman became a cultural phenomenon. George Reeves was Superman to baby boomers. Yet, that red cape came with invisible chains. His contract locked him out of most other roles. Typecasting hit like kryptonite. Directors saw only the tights. "Sorry, kid, you're Superman. We need someone who can play a regular guy." He earned modest money, starting around $1,000 an episode early on. Later better, but still not movie star rich, especially since filming wrapped in short bursts. Between seasons, the phone stopped ringing. He pitched projects, including an adventure series set in exotic locales. No takers. A small, uncredited part in the Oscar-winning From Here to Eternity, 1953, barely moved the needle. To the industry, he was forever the man in the sky. The private man behind the cape. Publicly, George projected strength. Privately, the weight pressed down. He had carried on a long, open secret romance with Toni Mannix, wife of powerful MGM executive Eddie Mannix, a man with rumored rough connections in Hollywood's underbelly. The affair was tolerated until it wasn't. In 1959, George fell for vibrant socialite Leonore Lemon. They got engaged. Wedding plans were set. He seemed hopeful about a fresh chapter, maybe even escaping the Cape for good. But friends saw cracks. At 45, he felt trapped, exhausted, and increasingly sidelined. He confided the role he loved had become a beautiful prison. The drinking, the late nights, the quiet desperation of watching younger actors get the parts he craved. The night everything ended. Early on June 16th, 1959, a single gunshot shattered the quiet of his Benedict Canyon home. Downstairs, Leonore Lemon and guests, drinking heavily, heard it. George had gone up to bed earlier, irritated by the noise. Witnesses gave conflicting, sometimes odd statements. "He's going upstairs. Just wait." The gun was found near his body, wiped clean of prints. A shell casing under him. Strange bruises noted later. On relationships and power, showing up meant picking a side no one wanted to be on. Others point to typecasting's ultimate price. George had been boxed out of the inner circle long before that night. The hero who inspired millions was quietly abandoned by the town that made him. His mother focused on justice over spectacle. "I don't care about ceremony," she said. "I want the truth for my son." The enduring legacy. George Reeves never fully left us. In 1960, he received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. DC Comics later honored him as one of those who made Superman great. The 2006 film Hollywoodland with Ben Affleck revisited the tragedy, exploring every theory without landing definitively. Even in 2023's The Flash, a brief CGI nod to his Superman sparked passionate debate. Proof his story still hits nerves. His life warns us about fame's double edge. It can lift you to the heavens and leave you utterly alone when the spotlight shifts. George gave kids hope, strength, and belief in something bigger. In return, the industry that profited from him offered silence at his final goodbye. So, what really happened that night in Benedict Canyon? Was it despair that finally beat the Man of Steel? Or did darker forces, jealousy, power, old grudges, finally catch up? The official answer is suicide. But for many who knew him, and for fans who still feel that childhood wonder, the questions linger. What do you think? Drop your theories in the comments. Was George Reeves a victim of Hollywood's machine, or something even more sinister? Like this video if it moved you, share it with someone who loves classic Hollywood mysteries, and if you're not already, subscribe. We've got so many more forgotten stories waiting. The truth is out there, and together, we'll keep digging. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.